because it's got so much power. And people are and going down the hall to the Democrats and saying, hey guys, if you elect one of these crazy conservatives, you're not going to get anything. If you elect me, I'm beholden to you, and I'm
Right.
relying on you to reelect me next time. So I'm not going to screw you half as bad as you could get screwed. We'll do a bunch of political theater and make it look bad. But at the end of the day, I know I need you to get elected.
Okay, folks, welcome to the Defiance Daily Show. We are joined in studio by our guest, Jon Bouché, a conservative leader for Texas. I'll go through an introduction here with Mr. Jon Bouché. He's a longtime Montgomery County resident. Jon is a businessman, real estate agent, and dedicated Republican activist. Since moving to the county in 2004, he has been in the trenches for the Republican Party, serving as a precinct chairman since 2018 and now as the Montgomery County GOP vice chairman, and is known across the state as a prominent, respected leader in the conservative movement. Jon was the 2019 Republican Party Volunteer of the Year for Senate District 4 and served at the 2022 Texas GOP Convention on the Platform Committee and as chair of the Criminal and Civil Justice Committee. He served on the Rules Committee at the 2024 State Convention. A proven, steadfast America First leader, Jon Bouché will fight to uphold the conservative values that Montgomery County citizens expect from their representatives. Read Jon's Texas First agenda. We can trust Jon to join our Christian conservative values because they are his values too. Jon, welcome to the Defiance Daily Show broadcast.
Well, thanks for having me. What an amazing studio you have here too.
Really appreciate it. I know we got you nice and comfortable, got the books behind you, looking sharp, man, looking sharp.
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll. So we'll let me change cameras back over to here.
I've been excited about this.
Yeah, Mark, you've been
I'm a little
you helped
familiar
set
with
this
Jon's-
up. I got to give you some credit there, man.
Well, thank you. I mean, Jon was kind enough to come in and take. You can tell that he's not afraid of taking chances by coming on this show. But I consider Jon a good friend. I've known Jon a long time. I've served with Jon. I've served under Jon as a precinct chair. I've seen a lot of the major changes in Montgomery County over the last few years. I've seen the battles that Jon has fought against the rhinos and the establishment here in Montgomery County, one of the reddest counties in the country, a vital county in the state of Texas and in the United States. And Jon has been the tip of the spear fighting against the commies, the Democrats, the rhino Republicans that were deeply ensconced here in Montgomery County. I know that's hard to believe because everybody thinks Montgomery County is this bastion of, conservative traditional values, but Montgomery County was in a lot of trouble, a ton of trouble, the Republican Party specifically. And Jon stood up to these guys. It was a true David and Goliath type of scenario. And I watched Jon take these guys on. And by the way, it's not like Jon's getting an income or Jon wasn't making any money doing this. It was truly out of a passion and just being the person that he is. And he stood up to these guys and he took a lot of arrows and it was a real fight. And I watched him stand up to them and persevere. And after some critical changes were made and Jon won some decisive battles, I watched how the business being done in Montgomery County, as far as the Republican Party goes, how it dramatically changed in a good way. Efficiencies, top to bottom, the whole thing just changed in a very positive direction. And so I'm thrilled about what Jon is doing next. And that's what we're going to get into, is more about where Jon's going next. And so, Jon, really thank you for all that you've done. Thank you what you continue to do. I know that you get a lot of heat, and I know there's people on your side. You're not by yourself out there, and there's some people that do appreciate what you do, but I'm glad to have a platform here that I can publicly state that I really respect you and appreciate everything that you've done, because I know you've paid some heavy prices. I mean, you're a businessman. You've got a very successful real estate agent, but people can slander you. People can say things about you that aren't true. We'll hear a little bit about that, but dude, you keep standing up for Texas as a true conservative, a true constitutionalist, and really appreciate it, brother.
Well, thank you so much for all your kind words. I'm very humbled by all that. A lot of it, look, we have a great team in place right now, and God has really put some great people together. I wasn't always moving towards politics, as you know, Mark. I was the chairman of the Lone Star Christian Chamber, and I'm a musician. I'm leading worship in churches, and I kept having people say, "Why don't you get involved? Why don't you get politically involved?" And I kept pushing that off, and then one day it just really hit me that I needed to do that. I was really getting, trying to encourage people to get involved in their local government, and I wasn't doing it myself. And so I stepped into the political arena, and man, it has been crazy, to say the least. I had as soon as I got in the political arena, man, on Facebook, here comes the attacks. John's a Muslim. John beats his wife.
You're not?
John cheats on his wife. The latest one, John beats his dog. I don't even have a dog, Mark. These people are insane. One of them even called me a Russian spy one time, which
Wow.
I said, "Are you?" And I said, "Niet." These people are just, you just wouldn't even believe. I could write a book, and someday I may, of all the crazy stuff I've seen.
Well,
I watched it.
you know who will publish it if you do decide to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So make
Yeah,
sure
we gotta
to make sure
publish
to
it
think
for you.
about us when you do that, buddy.
John, in all seriousness, I literally not, I watched a lot of it firsthand. I heard of a lot of it firsthand. I saw it. And I'm not trying to say I on this, but what I'm saying is that when you say these things, some people, oh, sure they did. No, he's being absolutely honest. I am telling you, these things are true, and he's not even scratching the surface. There has been just the attack campaign has been rhinos are brutal, and they're evil, and they're. Who would you rather be dealing against, John? Would you rather be dealing against rhinos or Democrats?
I'm sorry. Is there a difference? Because, that was one of the things I found when I got into the party initially back over a decade ago, was you had a group of people who were Democrats who had come to the realization at some point that they can't win an election unless they have unless they have an R by their name. And so they just switch parties. And what I came to realize at that time, Mark, was these people, they're politically apathetic. It's just a costume they wear, the Republican Party, and they would hijack it for their own benefit. And so it became really important to me for the Republican brand to stand for the things that are stated in our principles, God, family, individual responsibility, accountability, small government. All those things were important to me, and they were not important to a lot of the people that were out there parading themselves around as Republicans. And so when I came into the party, I was told by, a couple of prominent members in the county, don't get involved in the Republican Party. They're meaningless. They don't do anything. And it just really broke my heart. I was like, well, that should not be the case. It is important that we get a hold of this. And so that's how I went into it. And that's what I've been fighting for the last, since 2017 within the party.
Now, I got this is out of curiosity from my side. When these attacks started happening, was this coming from the left side of the aisle? Was this coming from your own team? What is your experience? Because this is really interesting for people that are curious about running for a political office, no matter, if you're doing a county run or joining the House legislator like yourself, this is what you can expect. Yeah, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Where did it come from? Well, if you go to my website, my Facebook page, Jon Bouché for Texas House District 16, you'll see up in the tagline, it says, Jon Bouché, I'm hated by the Democrats in both parties. And that is absolutely true. Again, they're politically apathetic. So trying to delineate between which one's a rhino and which one's a Democrat attacking me. The Democrats, they hate me with a burning passion, no matter what, and that's fine. We don't share the same values at all, and that's understood. The rhinos in this county, I was shocked when I ran for county chair in 2020 to see these people at the polls that claim to be Republicans locking arms with the Democrats, working against conservatives. And if you go to the polls, you'll see that a lot. In fact, they even formed their own groups with misleading names to put out their own voter guides to mislead voters. They formed a fake Tea Party back in 2014. They got their group they call the Republican Voters of Texas. That again, they had endorsed some Democrats, they'd endorsed some felons. I mean, they're just again whatever it takes to deceive voters. And once people kind of caught up with who they were, now they've got another group and called the Montgomery County Republican Club that I'm sure they'll roll out voter guides again. So to answer your question, Travis, it's not really, there's not really a distinction between the rhinos and the Democrats from a political standpoint. Maybe from an ideological standpoint, there is, but politically, the way they operate and the things they do are very similar. It's a blood sport. Anything to win. They'll say anything. They don't care who they destroy. But you said something earlier that I wanted to key on. You said if you're going to run for office, this is what you have to look forward to. And the thing that when I was praying about all this, because it was just kind of unbelievable to me at first, what God kind of revealed to me was this. I played music for years in a prison ministry. I've led worship on some of the biggest churches around here. My band, Johnny and the Spin Stations, I played before thousands and thousands of people. As chairman of the Lone Star Christian Chamber, a lot of people knew me in the county. So when all of these crazy things started being said about, my wife and I, whom look, I've been with Janine. We just celebrated our 37-year anniversary on the 20th of this month, just 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so when all of these things started happening, it just kind of hit me. I felt like God was telling me, John, you need to stay in this fight because someday somebody is going to have enough of this and they're going to want to put their name on the ballot. And how are they going to deal with it? Being called a porn producer. That was another thing I forgot to mention. They said that my campaign was funded by gay porn money.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, wow.
How are they gonna stand up to all these crazy allegations of being a pervert and an abuser and a drunk and all this stuff? And so I just vowed at that point, Travis, they couldn't destroy me because too many people knew me. I had too big a footprint in the community and with the churches around here. So I figured at that point, you know what? I'm just going to fight these people to the death.
I would
There's
almost
a way for other people running.
Yeah, and I would almost say too, when you're getting attacked like that, that means you're over the target, doesn't it?
Well, then I've been over the target for a while. Maybe it's time I dropped the bomb, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can honestly say that those people, they do hate you, John. You are man, just to say a thorn in their side.
It feels
gross.
Demonic at times. It really does.
No, it is. It is demonic, John.
I had a little old lady come up to me one day and she said, Jon Bouché, you're a liar. And I was like, ma'am, could you tell me what I've lied about? She goes, well, you've twisted words. I said, can you tell me what words I've twisted? And she said, well, you're evil. I said, can you tell me why you say that? Well, because you're a liar. And round we go. I was just like, what do you do with people like that?
Yeah.
Mark.
What do you do with people like that? There's nothing you can do. I mean, I don't really know. At this point, John, I think to answer your question, you do what you are doing right now. And that's the most important thing. And I'm so grateful that you're doing what you're doing, because not only that, you're stiffening the spine. I've seen this, the Jon Bouché effect in Montgomery County is that other people are now stepping up. Who are some of the key people here in Montgomery County that have helped in your battle against the rhinos? Is there anyone in particular? Or,
Oh, there are so many. I mean, look, let's start with Gwen Withrow. When she moved here from Jefferson County, she's a one of the top 10 Republican women in Texas. She's a long history of Republican activism. There's no doubt she's a conservative, a pro-life conservative, and she moved here to Montgomery County with an open mind about who's who. And she had heard rumors about me while she was in Jefferson County. And after a while, her and her husband said, you know, all these things that we were told, none of them appear to be true. What is going on in Montgomery County? I said, well, you just need to figure it out for yourself. So when she decided to run for county chair, they immediately started attacking her, called her an anti-Semite, and I mean, and their eyes were really open because this is not about Republicans versus Republicans. This is a group of people. 25% of the so-called Republicans on the county executive committee, Mark, as you know, they would just as easily identify as Democrats.
Yep.
And that's just a fact. So she's been a key figure in the whole deal. As far as field generals go, I mean, John Wirtz does tremendous amount of work.
Yep.
Allison Winter, oh my gosh,
Yes.
with her work filling vacancies. Dale Inman's been a big help.
Yep.
Stephanie Cox, as the head of the communications committee, Lisa Raley,
Yep.
all the work that she does with our marketing and website. So God has really assembled an amazing team here in Montgomery County. And, it's time for me to move and go to the state position, which, as you've known me a long time, Mark, my politics have been local.
Yes.
But now this is an opportunity, and I just felt like I was being pulled into it by forces bigger than myself, and so I went ahead and decided to make this run.
Can we ask about that in particular? Because it's kind of an interesting story. You said you've kind of got pulled into the Texas side because of all the things that Dustin Burrows and all this stuff, and with our illustrious leader right now in District 16. Do you mind telling the story? You're a great storyteller.
Would love to tell the
Of
story.
how because I want people to hear the interaction you had with Mr. Metcalf and how this all transpired, please.
Okay. Well, after the last state convention we had in San Antonio, a petition was going around to the legislators that was asking them to sign this petition that said that they will not vote for any speaker who would appoint Democrat chairs to committees in the Texas House. And conspicuously missing from that petition was my rep, Will Metcalf. And all the other reps in Montgomery County had signed it. And so our SREC member, Dale Inman, State Republican Executive Committee member, he represents us on the state executive committee. He and I met with Mr. Metcalf and one of his staff members, and Dale and I sat down, and Dale said, well, there's a petition going around, and it says what I just explained, and your name isn't on it. And I asked him why he hadn't signed it. And Will Metcalf looked at me and he goes, well, I haven't even seen the petition. So Dale said, well, as luck would have it, I have a copy of it right here for you to read. And handed it to him. And Will open it up and then turned it face down on the table. And I said, well, why don't you go ahead and read that? It's only a page long. We'll wait. So he reads it and he goes, yeah, I'm not signing it. And I said, well, there's something in there that you object to. And he said, it's not whether I object to it or not. It's just I didn't draft it, so I won't sign it. I said, oh, okay. Well, did you draft a Declaration of Independence? You vote on thousands of pieces of legislation that you haven't drafted. So I'm not buying the excuse. And, he said, well, I'm not signing it. And I said, well, if you don't sign it, there's a real good chance you're going to get a primary challenger. And he said, okay. I said, well, let's be clear. If you walk down the hall and join the Democrats, again, like y'all have been prone to do, and don't support the Republican caucus candidate, you're going to get a primary challenger. And he goes, I promise you, I will not join the minority of Republicans voting with the Democrats. And I said, okay. And sure enough, in December, when it came time to elect the speaker, Will Metcalf and 25 other Republicans, so-called Republicans, got up, walked out of the House Republican caucus when Dustin Burrows couldn't get enough votes and joined the Democrats. And then 3 hours later, had a press conference and said, Dustin Burrows has enough votes to be speaker, meaning they made the deal with the 60 something Democrats to get all their votes combined with the 26 Republicans. They had enough for Dustin Burrows to be speaker. It was a total betrayal. And when it happened, I was in my house, and my wife, she's not real political, and she would prefer that I just concentrated on my business. She is an interpreter for the deaf. She works in the schools with special ed kids. She's an amazing woman. And as soon as Will did that and betrayed us, I looked at her. I said, Will Metcalf just did exactly what he said he wouldn't do. And he joined the Democrats and backstabbed Republicans all across Texas. And my wife said, well, what are you going to do? I said, we got to find somebody to run against him. And my wife said, do you think you can beat him? I said, I think I've got a better chance than most. And she said, you should run against him.
There you
So
go.
that was enough for me right there.
And
That's
do you mind reading that pledge?
Excuse me?
Do you mind reading the pledge, the one he wouldn't sign?
I don't have that pledge with me.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the letter I have. But the pledge just said what it said, that I will not support any candidate for speaker who would appoint Democrat chairs.
This is a very basic pledge, folks. This isn't something that's right? Am I speaking out of turn saying this
No,
is
it
a
was
very
very basic, and
basic
it
pledge?
was
This
funny.
isn't anything that's there wasn't anything on there that would make it, I don't know if I want to be seen supporting that. He just knew already in advance, it sounds like, that he was going to betray his base.
Of course he did. And the pledge was the genesis of that pledge was one of the legislative priorities as voted on by the Republican convention was that there would be no Democrat chairs, period.
Yep.
And I mean, there's a rest of the story. I don't know how long the show is, but there's a rest of the story that, let me back up a little bit. Whenever there's rules put forth within the Republican caucus or Republican Party, conservatives like myself figure out how can we work within the rules to advance Republican priorities. People like Will Metcalf and some of these rhinos in the county, they look at the rules and say, how do we get around these to get what we want?
Exactly.
And so when you said no Democrat chairs, what they did was they just elevated all the Democrats, gave them all the vice chair positions, increased all their power, the vice chair, unprecedented powers, gave them $3 million in budget, which they never had before as vice chairs, to hire more staff, and just set them up to where they could kill all the Republican legislation that comes through that they don't like. And as I know Steve Toth don't like me talking about this, but I'm going to talk about it. If you look at 5 of the most conservative members of the Texas House, and this is why this matters. If you look at 5 of the most conservative members of the Texas House, how they score their conservative scores session after session, you would see Brian Harrison, Steve Toth, Tony Tinderholt, Brett Money, and Nate Schatzline, 5 of them. If you don't think it matters who the speaker is, I want to tell you how many pieces, they had 239 pieces of legislation those 5 members put forth. Conservative pieces of legislation that were properly formatted and presented in according with House procedures and rules. Of 239 pieces of legislation, conservative pieces of legislation put forth, how many of those do you think passed, made it through this majority Republican House with 88 Republicans?
0.
Republican speaker. How many do you think?
I don't think any got passed.
One.
Wow.
Just one.
Wow.
And so what happens is, have you ever been to a sporting event where they take some, child who's disabled and they hand him the football and everybody acts like they're trying to tackle him and he runs for a touchdown?
Yeah.
Well, this is how the Burrows protects his quote unquote team. So they kill all these conservative Republican pieces of legislation, and then they put forth other pieces of legislation that have similar names and the speaker allows his team to put their names on them. And then people like Toth and Schatzline and Tinderholt and Harrison are then fighting tooth and nail to make the substance of that bill match the title. So it'd be like if I'm in my house and I'm out of sugar, and so I go to my salt shaker and I peel salt off and I put sugar on it. It doesn't change what's in the salt shaker. It doesn't make the substance any different. I just change the label. And so a lot of times when the legislative session is over and you hear the argument about, well, did we pass legislative parties? Yeah, well, we didn't allow any Democrat chairs. And they'll tell you that. Well, is that true? Well, no. I mean, by name, no, they didn't allow a Democrat chair, but by function and effect, yeah, you had Democrat chairs. You even had video of Democrats chairing the main body at times. One of the most radical Democrats you're ever going to see, Joe Moody, was actually chairing the entire body at times during the session.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just really important for people to understand what's going on and to run for these offices. And as soon as you do, man, you know, the bad guy's coming for you. And I'm just trying to clear all the landmines for good people that want to run.
And you touched on something as far as, you know, when these attacks come almost demonic in nature, and you do have to have some kind of deceptive, I feel, evil type of element to you if you're going out and doing these outlandish attacks like this, and that side plays this way. There's no norms that they won't demolish, but they demand Republicans follow these norms, and they play to win. They play nasty, they play dirty, they know the game, and it shouldn't dissuade people from sitting in those chairs. What do you say to that?
Well, I'll give you one of these pins. I've been wearing this since before I got into politics. This is my Ephesians Full Armor of God pin, and I started a few years ago a Full Armor of God prayer event at Grace Church where we pray over our elected officials. I think it's demonic. I think it's just a way that they've done politics here for so long that they don't know any difference. And if you go to mctxgop.org, you'll find an article on there, a piece that was written about the old guard's playbook, about how they slander and libel and they play the victim, and they file frivolous lawsuits and TEC complaints and just harass people until they don't want to run. It's just they make it so costly and so toxic that good people don't want to run, and you leave the field to these really bad people. And what's been different about me is I've been able to counter a lot of that and fight them. I remember coming home to my wife one day when I was running for county chair. I said, let me read something they just posted on Facebook about me. And it said, Jon Bouché was fired from his job as a security guard because he had inappropriate behavior with young girls.
Holy
And my
crap.
wife laughs and she goes, you were never a security guard. And I said, so that's the part of the story you have a problem with. Okay. So what I did at that point, there were two ladies that were the biggest spreaders of these, just garbage that they put out there. So I put an open letter to both of them, put their names in it. And I said, from now on, when anybody posts something like this, I was an investigator for 20 years. I'm going to investigate you. I'm going to find out everything you've ever done, everything about you, traffic tickets, divorces, if you've been arrested for shoplifting, whatever it is, I'm going to post it out here so let people know who you are. And those two ladies just totally disappeared. I never saw them again.
Imagine that.
Interesting.
Now, why that is because I think my theory is they're so conditioned to this mindset that they can do things to you, and they never think for a second that you can do it back to them. And when they start, somebody complained, "Oh, you're going to dox people." I'm like, "No, I'm going to put the truth out there about these people who are lying about everybody." And so they were just shocked and appalled that I would do that. And the other thing that I did is they filed over a dozen when Gwen became county chair. About every week, they would file a frivolous TEC complaint, Texas Ethics Commission complaint against the party. And I don't know if you ever had a Texas ethics complaint filed against you, but it's like being audited by the IRS. Those campaign finance reports are pretty complicated, and there's money between interest payments and transaction fees, and timing stuff has to line up. That it's not hard to make a mistake. And so when they put those complaints in, you're constantly having to respond to them. And one day the treasurer called me and said, "John, this is, I think, the 13th complaint I've got that I've had to respond to. I'm probably going to have to resign. I can't keep up with all this stuff. I'm a volunteer position. This is mentally taxing, takes my time." I said, "I'll take care of it." So I wrote an open letter and I sent it to every elected official in the county. And I said this: the next frivolous complaint we get from the Texas Ethics Commission, I will audit I will form a team and I will audit the campaign finance reports of everyone associated with the opposition who is doing this. So if you're on any of their campaign finance reports, if you've been to any of their events, if you're on the endorsement list, you're going to get audited, and I'm going to file complaints on all of you. And then we can unify as a party, sitting around the conference room at the headquarters, answering all these complaints together, and we can all be miserable together. It's not just going to be us from now on. And guess how many we've received since?
Zero.
Zero. And so this is why they really hate me, because the game plan that they've had for so long, that they've just been able to walk into the bar and just start winging punches and never get hit back, those days are over. That's why.
So now it's just a matter of hitting back, basically. And some of these tactics, you wanna play them. Okay, we'll hold up a mirror and we'll make everybody join in on this and see how they take it. So that that's speaking to something culturally, politically, at least in the political culture, as far as yeah, they're probably not used to getting feedback like you're giving them, are they?
Mm. Well, right now, the biggest, as we were talking about before we started the show, if you were to go out on the street, Travis, and you were to ask people, what's the most powerful political position in Texas? I think most people would tell you it's the governor of the state of Texas. You might have come across a couple people that'll tell you, no, it's the lieutenant governor because he's president of the Senate and he has a lot of power as well. But the real truth is, the person with the most political power in Texas is the Speaker of the House, the Texas Speaker of the House. And the reason that is because the Constitution, Texas Constitution, states that each chamber of the House shall draft their own rules. Texas House Rules, Article 1, Section 1, gives the Speaker of the House all authority for interpretation, application, and enforcement of the rules. And he is just king. Nobody can question him. If he does something against House rules, you can say, "Speaker, I object, point of order." He go, "No, my interpretation's right," and that's the end of it. Article 1, or maybe it's Article 2, Section 10. I can't remember which. It's Section 10 of Article 1 or 2. Also gives the Speaker the authority to appoint all of the officers, administrative positions, and chairman of the committees. And they serve at the pleasure of the Speaker, which means he can get rid of them as he wants. So say you had a philosophical difference, a party principle difference with the Speaker, and you go, "Hey man, this is out of order. Our party does not believe in, pick something, some key issue." And he would say, "Okay, sorry, Mark, you're no longer the chair of this. Travis, you're now the chair. Do you agree with me or not?" And it is tyrannical the way it's set up right now, because no legislation goes anywhere, right, unless it goes through the House.
Mm.
And so when you have a speaker who's compromised, like Burrows is, but you can't remove him, there's no process in place to remove him. There's no term limits. And as long as he has a handful of Republicans and all the Democrats, he's going to be speaker. You see things like you're seeing today. You got the governor, the lieutenant governor, even the state chair, and the president of the United States saying, "Man, that Dustin Burrows sure is a good guy." What else are they going to say?
God, I know.
You can't get anything done.
Oh,
It does you no good to criticize the guy because you're stuck with him and he has all the power.
And can you speak to what you've observed about the current speaker, and what you think are some of the most important points of attack as far as addressing this type of issue?
Well, the most important thing of the speaker was he made deals with Democrats while the cook, who was nominated by the Republicans, made deals with Republicans. So that should tell you everything you want to know. The first thing our speaker did was he hired Hugh Brady, who you can look it up for yourself, worked for the Obama White House as an attorney. That's who wrote the rules. Now, I'm telling you, Travis, if I stood up on the stump during campaign time and said, hey guys, I'm running for Texas House. Here's my plan to advance Republican principles. First, I'm going to vote for whoever the Democrats vote for Speaker.
Mhm.
Second, I'm going to get an Obama White House lawyer to write all the rules for the Texas House. Third, the people that are managing the process, the parliamentarian, I'm going to appoint a leftist to that. I'm going to give the Democrats all the vice chair positions and increase all their power to where they have effectively the same power as if they were chairman. And I'm going to give them an additional $3 million to hire a bunch of radical leftist staff members in the House. That's my plan to advance Republican principles. You would think I was insane, but that is exactly what these people have done. And that's why they need to go.
Right under the noses of all the Republican voters. And I think all they're doing is capitalizing on the basic ignorance and apathy of the typical or average Republican voter. Unfortunately, I mean, that's my take anyway. That's my opinion. I'm not saying that's a fact or not. It just seems to be that they seem to leverage against the ignorance and apathy of the average. Well, what's the percentage of primary voters in the Republican Party today, John? About 15%? Is that what?
It's not much. In the primary this time, in HD 16 in the last primary 2024, I think we had 24,000 votes, Republican votes, and then in the general, there was about 75,000. So about 30% of HD 16 actually of the voters turn out primary versus general.
And if we don't get the primary right, then we're stuck with the general.
Yeah, and look, my House District 16 is 81% Republican.
Wow.
My opponent, that's been in that seat for 10 years now, his last three grades, conservative grades, F, that's failing, even in the Louisiana public school system. That was two cycles ago. The next cycle was an F. And then in December, I said, I'm running against this guy because right now, Austin has their representative in HD 16, and HD 16 needs a representative in Austin. So I'm going to run against this guy. Well, he voted as conservative as he could possibly vote this time and managed to get a C.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
What do you think happens if I lose this election and he goes back another session?
Oh, it's going to be
Oh, let's see that F grade.
You'll see the F grade again. That's correct, because that's who he is.
Now, didn't the Montgomery County Republican Party successfully censure?
They did censure him. It was a county-wide censure. The state party, they haven't done anything, and I don't anticipate they will. That's why it brings us to the letter that was in my pocket that I was telling you guys about.
Excellent.
Hot off the press. This came out today. If y'all would indulge me, I'll read it to you.
Yeah, give some background real quick, John. We're not in a hurry here, and this is a great opportunity. The reason I'm excited about this interview, John, is because there's so much to this. There's so much meat on the bone, but so few chances to actually explain and get into the minutia. We really need to on this, John. What we're talking about today is absolutely critical to our political future here. So please set that up a little bit and read that letter.
Let's get into it.
Set it up a little bit. The state party runs as it should run. The chairman of the party is not a god. He's not a king. You have the state Republican Executive Committee. Everything needs to go through them. They make the decisions. They cast the votes. They make the decisions. I will preface this by saying I really like Matt Rinaldi a lot, who was the former chair. James Dickey was a friend of mine. And the current chair, Abraham George, I have a tremendous amount of respect for. But they are within the system that they are. I mean, they are the figurehead. They manage the business of the SREC, and whatever the SREC says goes. And the officials committee is also a subset just about between the SREC and the chair. That's the officials committee. But those are the people that rule things. So it's a little bit different than some places where you have just one guy making all the decisions. The chair expresses the will of the body. So what has happened over the years is when you get a rogue chair like we had here in Montgomery County, and you go to the state party and go, hey guys, our rules say this. If there's enough SREC rhinos and cowardly people, they just kill it. It doesn't go anywhere. And the typical tactic has been delay, 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 and then point to the primary and say, well, the primary is coming up. Why should we take action? That's been the typical thing. So with the current deal with the speaker right now that we've had since Joe Strauss, and then you had Bonin, and then you had Dade Phelan, and now you have Dustin Burrows, with a minority of Republicans joining the Democrats to elect the speaker and undermine the Republican majority that we worked so hard to achieve. Something has to give. And what's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so a lot of people keep, hacking at the leaves of corruption, and they don't ever get to the root. And so I've made it a point to try and get to the root. And the root of the problem, fellas, is we have a speaker that over the years, over the decades, has usurped power from the body. I think the last conservative speaker we had was Tom Craddock. And I think it was in 1981 where they removed the clause that gave oversight to the body and just bestowed all the power on the speaker. So that needs to be walked back. And so what I'm proposing, so we don't get into another situation where we're at the end of, all the damage is done and everybody's, trying to pass a rule to fix the problem like they did with the no Democrat chair thing, which I mentioned earlier. The rhinos just figured a way to get around that. This is the solution that I sent to the chairman of the party today. Dear Chairman George, given the dysfunction of the Texas House over the last decade, I recommend the Texas GOP create a House and Senate Rules Subcommittee within the Legislative Priorities Committee at the June 2026 State Convention. The chair of the Republican Party of Texas should also invite all Republican legislators to provide input. The subcommittee will review House rules and propose changes that limit the Speaker's authority, restore power to House members, and establish penalties for abuse. For example, Article 1, Section 1 currently gives the Speaker sole authority over rule interpretation, enforcement, and application. Members should have a process to challenge the Speaker. The Speaker is not a king. Article 2, Section 10 allows the Speaker to appoint and dismiss officers at will. These appointments should require member consent and include a defined removal process beyond the Speaker's discretion. The Speaker should serve the body, not control it. Term limits for the Speaker would also be worth considering. Following the convention, the House Republican Caucus should meet with the SREC before the legislative session to review proposed rule changes and legislative priorities and clearly outline the consequences for abandoning the caucus. Possible sanctions might include expulsion from the House Republican Caucus, censure, disavowal by the Republican Party, and press releases should be sent to the home districts of members who betrayed their voters, noting their disciplinary action for abandoning the Republican caucus and siding with Democrats to undermine the House majority. The future of Texas is at stake. Now is the time for decisive action, and I intend to stand strong and fight for change if elected to the Texas House. Jon Bouché.
That's excellent.
Beautiful.
That's outstanding. So
Beautiful.
is that going to create some waves?
I don't know what it's going to do. I hope they accept it in the spirit in which it's offered, because it definitely solves the problem. It takes it out of the Republican Party's hands to where they're having to, play whack-a-mole and respond to a bunch of rogue, House members, in every county across the state, in every House district across the state. It would just be a better way to let the convention decide on what the sanctions are, get input from the House Republican Caucus, and it would stop a lot of the shenanigans of people trying to play games to get around the rules.
That is really amazing. Who are your biggest allies in the state house right now? And
Well, Steve Toth is moving on to run against
Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw, and he has been. Uh, I would say my allies are going to be probably Mitch Little. I'm doing some work with his chief of staff right now. Nate Schatzline, Tony Tinderholt has announced he's not running again. That's a huge loss. I imagine I'll be working a lot with Brett Money. There's probably 10 to 15 true conservatives in the House. David Lowe is another one.
That's it, huh?
Brian Harrison.
Brian Harrison's awesome. Yeah.
But what we're going to need to do, you heard me say 26 Republicans went down the hall. If you parse that out, if you get rid of 10 of the worst of those people, you have another 10 to 15 that are just followers. And the reason they're followers is because when Dave Phelan or Dustin Burrows goes to them and says, hey, House member, I've got all the votes to be speaker. You can play ball with me, or I can make your session miserable. If you play ball with me, I'll give you a chairmanship and I'll let you put a bunch of cool bills in your name. And they go, oh, okay. And so the real story of this legislative session, of the 89th legislative session that no one's talking about, the real story is not that you had 26 Republicans betray the Republicans across Texas. The real story is that you had over 50 Republicans that stood firm in the face of those threats, understanding what they were getting into with a speaker with unlimited power, and they stood strong anyway. And we need to elect about 25, 26 more of them would be great. But if we just got 10 to 15, I think we'd tip the balance, because I think the cowards would go along.
Yeah, it would go a long way for sure.
Are there any on deck? Are there any other races that you're following across the state in districts like that you see potentially good conservatives?
Right off the top of my head, I can't really call out any right now. I'm just so concentrating on my race. I mean, my race is the one that's going to send shockwaves across the state. I mean, I am running against a guy whose last name is on the street sign that runs through the main city here.
Yeah.
This is a true grassroots versus good old boy rhino slugfest in the reddest large county remaining in Texas.
And where can people find information about your campaign? What's the best place?
BoucherForTexas.com. And I sent you guys a graphic, and there's also I have an event coming up on the 28th this month at the Cozy Grape, 14340, I think is the address, Liberty Street in Montgomery, at the Cozy Grape, 6 o'clock, August 28th. That's a Thursday. It's my Vision and Values event. It's a fundraiser. I'm going to have to be raising some money because, I can tell you, I am up against it. I mean, this job pays, not a lot of people know this, but you can Google it. To be a state rep in Texas, the job pays about $7,000 a year. That's it. So I've sacrificed much to run for this office, to represent the people of House District 16. On the last campaign finance report, do you know how much my opponent spent?
Oh, God, I can't even imagine.
Over $180,000. Mailers, that's crazy, but that gives you an idea how important it is for them to stay in power.
There's a lot on the line.
There is.
Yeah. And I do want to point to that's BoucherForTexas.com. Be sure to check out this link, hit the donate button there. That's going to be, of course, all of these efforts. It does take money.
It takes money
to take these battles. So take the call seriously, folks. It's time to make some changes here in the legislative body of Texas. This last session was extremely embarrassing for the state. Extremely, it makes people very pessimistic about the future of Texas based on some of this stuff. And really, to John's point, what it takes to run having the courage to just step up and do it. More people need to do this. We need more people like John running for this kind of thing. And the attacks are going to come, and that's just part of the territory. You can't be afraid to go after these people because they are not afraid of making life miserable for the rest of us to push their agenda through. And this is part and parcel for these type of playbooks across every state in the union. And it's really important you visit boucherfortexas.com, hit that donation link, and make sure to show your support that way as well.
Yeah, because this makes a huge difference. If you're somebody out there right now and you're like, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Okay, hey, give $10, give $250, give $500, give $12.
Every
Here's
bit
a real.
helps.
What's that?
Every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps. And what else can people do, John, in order to help with your campaign?
Well, maybe they should start an account to, save up some bail money, because now the big thing is to try and arrest me on some bogus charge.
Yeah, what's that about?
Really?
Yeah. Well, what it's about is there was a water. I don't know if you heard about the water fight between Willis ISD and the city of
I've
Conroe.
heard some rumblings.
Long story short, Willis ISD was opening a school right behind my house on Longmire Road. And right before the school was to open, Conroe, the city of Conroe shut off the water to the school and was demanding $4 million from Willis. Willis didn't want to pay it. Conroe said, we're not turning the water on. So I went by the school. I saw some, I was on my way to look at some property actually. And I was passing by the school, and I saw the police cars out there and SUVs. And I said, well, I'll just stop in. I'm an elected official. I live in the area. I'm a constituent. I'll just see what's going on. So I stopped in and, tried the door. It was locked, looked in, didn't see anybody. Walked to the other door. There's two people there. I said, hey, where is everybody? They pointed down the hall. They said, they're down there. I walked down there. They weren't there. Looked around, and then I came back. I said, I can't find them. So I left. Made a short video, just said, hey, guys, turn the water back on. This is ridiculous. And then left. And didn't think anything else about it. And then a few days later, I got a call from Montgomery County Sheriff's Department detective saying they're pressing charges on me for criminal trespassing.
Oh my.
And I was like, criminal trespass? This is a public building. I didn't break into the building. What kind of lunatic would I be to go to a place with police cars there and ask to speak to the police and then leave? And so, yeah, they gave me a criminal trespass warning for that. And I was just kind of shocked, because what that tells you now is, as a private citizen, if you go to a public building and you ask to speak to someone in charge and they say they're not available and you leave, they can hit you with a criminal trespass warning.
Okay, I've got a question.
And it's crazy. And you see, the petty side of me wants to go ahead and file a criminal trespass warning against the detective that wrote that, just to be a jerk, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Oh man. And you can say whatever you want, and I don't want to, because I don't want to jeopardize if there's an active investigation.
No, there's nothing. There's nothing. It's ridiculous, and they know it's ridiculous, but
Does
I'm
the
just gonna
sheriff
blow it
know
off to
about this?
Oh, I called him. He didn't return my call. He wouldn't return my call, and that's fine. And that's the other thing, Mark, quite honestly, I don't want to talk to any of these people,
Yeah,
because I don't trust any of them. And
Right.
if I said, oh, good evening, sir, how are you doing? Then the next thing they're saying is, John called me and threatened me.
Right.
So I don't even want to talk to them at this point.
That's a good point. I mean, you're learning. I mean, the learning curve has been steep. It's been, yeah, but you're learning. You literally, you can step on a lot of landmines here, and you're figuring this out pretty quickly.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not my first rodeo. I've issued so many criminal trespass warnings in my life. As head of security at Macy's and other places. When they did this, I was like, what do you mean? I stopped there. I asked to speak to somebody and I left. There was no complaint about a disturbance or a threat or vandalism or anything damaged, or nobody's saying any of that. And you guys, I told them on the phone, and it's recorded. I said, this seems political, because it is political.
Yeah, lawfare.
It's totally political. And you know what? I know who they are. I know what they're doing. And so I'm just going to let it go, because it's not worth it. But if I get to this Texas State House, I promise you, we're going to talk about the laws related to criminal trespass warnings. It should not be a political tool to be used in this way.
Holy cow, man.
Yeah, and obviously, then nothing screams that I've got something to hide, like doing shenanigans like that and doing
Well,
Well,
it's,
that.
the
it's
crazy,
unbelievable.
well, here's the craziest part of it, guys. The craziest part of it is there. I was advocating on behalf of Willis ISD,
Mm,
and they would have had to been the ones to file a criminal trespass if
that's
I didn't.
wild.
Unbelievable.
That's absolutely
So
wild.
that just gives you an idea how rabid these good old boys are, that even when you're on their side, you're not on their side because they just want to destroy you.
Well, is it true? I mean, didn't this affect some of the development going on in Willis? For example, I think it's the Woodlands Hills. There was rumors that water was being turned off in the middle of these construction. What are your thoughts on that? What is your knowledge to that?
Well, contrary to what people say, there's not an official water moratorium, and there's just not. I was at the Conroe City Council meeting when they voted to not have a moratorium, but yet they were holding off on issuing water permits to people, hookup permits. The city was. And so, like, there's Beezer Homes at Madeley. I hear they're suing the city of Conroe for refusing to allow them access to water. Um, you know, I- there's a lot of new construction going on in this county.
Mhm.
And funny you mentioned that because one of the three things that was just mentioned that Abbott's adding to the legislative session is for there to be an aquifer study for the East Texas aquifers prior to permits being issued. I don't know how that's going to slow things down even more, how long that study's going to take, how extensive it's going to be. But with this county growing at 4% per year like it is, we're expected to double in size in 20 years. If you put a halt on issuing permits for new construction, just drive through the county sometime. Look at all the thousands of houses being built and imagine what that's going to do to Montgomery County and these builders
Unbelievable.
here.
Unbelievable.
Incredible. So one other thing here. What is that question? And I don't know how many interviews you've been in or conversations like this. Is there anything that you wish somebody would ask you?
Um, man, I'm pretty much an open book, man. I mean, I've answered pretty much every question that's asked me. I haven't really given any thought to that. I've told you why I'm running. I've told you, who I am. You know who I am. I don't know, man. I can't think of a question that
I've
I haven't
I've
been asked.
definitely got one. Because this is becoming a popular topic now. It got mentioned a little bit in the past session. I know on the federal level, Majority Taylor Greene, she's talking about this, about property taxes in Texas. What is your position on that? What are your thoughts on that as it relates to property taxes?
Well, my position on that is that Texans are taxed enough already. If you don't believe me, look at the $50 billion we have in rainy day funds and our surplus fund. That's $50 billion, and these bureaucrats will look at that and say, "Well, look how responsible we were. We saved $50 billion." No, you overtaxed, property owners $50 billion. Give it back. I am in favor of 100% eliminating property taxes.
Oh yeah.
Amen.
Period.
Hey, crank.
How do I do that? Hang on, I gotta find it.
We've got a clapper sound effect over here, John. But no, thank you, Jesus. Praise the
I
Lord.
don't want
Jon
this to
Bouché.
blow ears.
There we go. No, thank you for saying that, John. I'm a huge proponent.
Now,
of
this is becoming a big topic across the country, not just here in Texas. So I think we're starting to see more vocal proponents of eliminating it, and it's getting ridiculous, right? The rates at which people are taxed, the fact that tagging it to your property means you're a tenant on your own piece of property.
Yeah, you'd never own your own
You'll never
property.
be in full ownership of your property, and we need more people like Jon Bouché to take this is very common sense stuff. To me, there's really not any controversy around it. I know a lot of the people that make the controversy around it are all relegated conversations about public schooling and so forth. But this I predict will be an even bigger topic in the coming years, and it's good to see you're on the right side of that one, John.
Well, there is a way to replace those tax dollars. Schools love property taxes because it's a stable revenue stream. I get it. But if you remember, I don't know how old you are, but I'm sure you know who Charlie Brown is.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Lucy with the football.
Yep.
Every legislative session, there's this big fanfare. We cut your property taxes. Everybody celebrates, and then you get your tax bill. What happens, Mark?
Oh, it goes up.
It goes up.
Goes up.
And it's people are bamboozled because they don't understand the process. You could lower a tax rate, but when you raise the appraised value of the house,
Exactly.
that's the multiplier that determines your taxes.
Oh,
And as a realtor, BoucherRealtyGroup.com, as a realtor, if you are trying to assess the value of a home and you go to the appraisal district, sometimes the value of that house far exceeds the market value of that house.
right.
But people just didn't protest it and get their tax, didn't protest their tax bill. So they ended up paying taxes more than they should have on their house. And it's a numbers game. If you raise appraisal rates all across the county and only 40% of people, I'm sure it's a lot less, but oppose it, well, then, man, that was quite a boon. You got a lot of money coming out with inflated appraisals. So, yeah, we can easily eliminate property taxes, and we should have done that on day one of the legislative session, but we
Yes.
didn't because the House is run by Democrats. We should have got this redistricting map done really quickly, but we didn't because the House is run by Democrats. We should have done away with DEI and all hiring and just went to a merit-based system, but we didn't because the House is run by Democrats,
Bingo.
and we need to fix it. And I'm going to Austin because I want to be an agent of change, and I'm going to fix it. And I told people this, and I'm only half kidding. If that House Republican caucus meets and 26 Republicans get up to walk to the door and I'm in the Texas House, they're going to have to go through me at the door because they're going to really want to have to betray their constituents so bad that they're willing to push past conservatives to go down the hall and join the Democrats. I
Amen.
think that would make a really good story to tell across
We
Texas.
need that on video, John.
See, and it seems like there was so much low hanging fruit in this past session that we really could have just hammered and got done. And it's still shocking to someone like me. I know the younger crowd that's paying attention to some of these state politics on how the GOP is just they love slowing down their own momentum and giving their wins away. It's a recurring theme. It seems like just constantly giving up easy wins for what? For what in exchange? And I think people like Jon Bouché running here. That's the other thing too. You know, people running, they got their own businesses, they got their own livelihoods doing. You got to respect people that are putting their necks on the lines. They're getting these attacks. You're getting ethic committee complaints. I mean, everything in between. Be ready for it. But that is the embodiment of the Texas spirit is to fight this stuff because you can win. You just gotta go full tilt. We can't half-ass anything anymore.
Yeah, and it is costly, and I understand why a lot of people don't want to run. But hopefully, again, I will clear out a lot of the landmines, and we have cleared out a lot of landmines here in Montgomery County. It gave me a really good feeling in my chest when I was at the convention, and I was sitting in uh, the cafe area at the convention center in San Antonio, and there was a table next to me full of people. And I heard one of them say, "Well, gosh, we can't all be Montgomery County." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. You're right." Because all across the state, people look at Montgomery County. I mean, we had 140,000 or whatever surplus votes for Trump. We were by far the best performing county in Texas. For a long time, we were considered the reddest county in the nation. So we have done so many great things here, and people notice it. But yet at home, we still have the rhinos trying to undermine and divide and split this party. And it's all for self-interest. What's the old saying? I heard Thomas Sowell say it: when you're so used to special treatment, equal treatment feels like discrimination.
Yeah.
That's
That is what we're dealing with.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right.
I did want to ask, and this is kind of a personal, well, not really a personal one, but as a small business owner, this was my first experience in getting some letters in the mail from the state comptroller's office and the tax assessor's office on what's called a personal property tax. They
Mhm.
evaluate in your business. So all this equipment, everything we're seeing in here, I'll pan for the everything you're seeing here that's helping produce revenue, they assess a tax on. When did this start, and why is this something that Montgomery County has?
If you go read my Texas First initiative on my website, you'll see I will eliminate personal property taxes because that is a barrier to people starting businesses and growing the economy in Texas. It needs to go away.
Amen.
I mean, just thinking about it philosophically, on a standpoint, taxing the material that helps you produce income and capital flow.
Oh, well, hold on a second.
That's wild.
Yeah, well, okay, then contemplate this. The appraisal district taxes me on unrealized income based on my property value that I'm not going to sell.
Wow.
I just got to pay you based on this arbitrary number they come up with. That is unrealized capital gains at its finest. That needs to go away.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
and
can't
the
believe it.
wild part about it is in the actual letter itself, it said if you didn't pay this amount, they actually had the forceful right to seize the property within your business, folks. And I'm not making this up. This is legit.
Yeah, and there are some dollar restrictions on that, some levels. I've looked into that. Um, and rather than study it extensively and get all in the red tape, Travis, my intention is just to eliminate it entirely and not worry about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
so for folks in Montgomery County like myself, if you're a small business owner, I mean, a lot of people like to pay attention to the federal elections and the presidential elections, and one of the things I know in my age group and especially below, there's not hardly any involvement from my age group, and
Nope.
I'm 37, I think. Yeah. Around this age group, I had to think about that for a
Long
second.
night last night.
Yeah, yeah. So, but a lot of people, they don't get involved in the state. Everybody wants to pay attention to what's going on at the FBI and all these things. And there's easy wins to happen right here at your doorstep. So I highly encourage folks to really get involved in whatever county you're in. If you're in the state of Texas or whatever state you're in, to get involved in this. It does get really exciting. A lot of challenges come at you, but you put this stuff at the foot of the cross and you go full tilt because eventually, you don't get involved enough. You get what you vote for. And if you just sit on your, you know what, you'll get what's coming to you because these people have plans for you. They're extracting money off of you like leeches in this state. Austin is an embarrassment to the state of Texas, and it's our state capital. And it's something's got to give eventually. And I think it starts at the local county levels and everything in between. So, John, really appreciate you joining us in studio today. This is a Texas
Yes, thank
first
you.
um, representative that folks need to go and vote for. This is for Texas House District 16. That's boucherfortexas.com. Check out the events link, hit that donate button, make sure to support your local candidates, and really excited to see you throw your hat in the ring and see what comes about. It's been pretty crazy for you to say the least, but you're not showing any signs of slowing down as far as we can tell.
No, I can tell you, man. John, you're in it, aren't you?
Oh man, the more they push my buttons, the more determined I
Yeah.
am to rip it out, root and branch. And I hope you'll when you send this thing to whatever, when you finish production, you'll put my picture up of my mugshot with my placard that says "Threat to Bureaucracy."
I saw that.
oh, yeah.
Dude, you got to see. Yeah, Travis, it is a great picture. He actually did a mug shot because, dude, they're coming after the guy. They're like, this is unbelievable. They're gonna trump him.
Hey, and if they're not careful, you want to vault somebody into a seat automatically, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go do it.
It's
Go do it. I dare
really
you.
amazing. Hey, real quick before we finish, John, thank you for doing this. You already mentioned, if you were to win the seat, they pay $7,000 a year, which I'm all for it. I don't think politicians, and I know you're not doing it to get enriched.
Oh, no,
So
no.
take a minute, 2 minutes, talk about your real estate business. Do a commercial. Seriously, we want to promote. You're an outstanding real estate agent. You got a wonderful agency. Please tell us about your real estate agency.
Well, thank you. My partner and I, Stephanie Cox, we started this business. I started a long time ago doing luxury real estate and new construction primarily, and I became a 5-star rated realtor pretty quick. And you can go read my reviews, BoucherRealtyGroup.com. And at some point, I had a friend call me whose mother-in-law had to go into assisted living. The father-in-law has passed away, and they had a whole house full of stuff, Mark. They didn't know what to do with it. So I started working on that, and then I got another call, a similar situation. The father passed away, the mother's going to assisted living, and then another one and another one. So at some point, I just said, God's calling me to work on the probate real estate thing. So I went and got my certification as a probate real estate agent, and that is where somebody passes away, and I had a lady in New York whose father passed away. Her mother was in assisted living here. They got a whole house full of stuff in the Woodlands. They don't know what to do with it. Well, are they going to call an estate sale person, a cleanup person, a handyman person, a yard person? What are they going to do? And so now they just call me, and I handle all that for them. So that's the probate side of it. I'm also a certified senior real estate specialist dealing with the senior market, because that group is victimized most by online fraud. And as a fraud investigator for 20 years, I have a heart for those people. So I help seniors also. I connect them with financial planners, people who can help with Medicaid, people who can help change their house to make it more friendly, better showers and all that fun stuff. So yeah, senior real estate specialist, I do those things. BoucherRealtyGroup.com, and they can call me at 281-907-3989, and I will answer my phone.
And what areas do you serve? I know you live here in Montgomery County, obviously, but what kind of the area that?
Well, that was the other thing, is I was trying to stay more local, but I've done houses in Cypress and off Tidwell, all over the place. So I have enough of a team. I have lawyers on my team. I have transaction coordinators, and my partner and I have pretty much streamlined this so we can pretty much work anywhere. It's not a problem. If it's within the state of Texas, within reason, I'm not going to be driving to Odessa. I can promise you that. But
or Paducah.
Yeah. but within 40, 50 miles of Montgomery County, we could handle that.
Well, that's excellent. And I know that you give outstanding service. And again, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on here. And you're in our prayers. You're a warrior. You're doing this for the right reasons. I don't know how many years ago it was that I think I ran into you at church or something like that, and I just said, "Hey, I'm gonna be a friend of yours. I'm gonna stalk you." And you're looking at me like really weird, and said,
He does that.
Take you to lunch or whatever. And we went to lunch over there at Citizens Grill or something. I took you to lunch, and I just said, "Hey, man, I just want to get. There's something about you. I think you're legit. You're sincere, and I want to be on your team." And that's kind of how we got started. And it was one of the better decisions I've made in my life, John. So I really appreciate not just all that you do, but you've always backed up what you've said. You've stood your ground. You've not given in. You are really what we need in Austin in this process, as a political leader. And I just hope that people find it in their heart that they can support you in some way. And let's get this done.
Thank you, brother. The results are not up to me. God's in control, and that's who I serve. We'll see how it goes.
Amen. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And again, really appreciate you coming on the broadcast today at the Defiance Daily Show. I know I know Pops is smiling over this one because he was a Metcalf fan, right? I'm being very sarcastic, folks. My dad did not like Metcalf whatsoever.
My dad was an amazing guy, by the way.
I really appreciate that, man. And I hope to have more folks like Jon up here. So whoever's running out there, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about getting involved, maybe you've gotten a rhino incumbent in your district. Come on, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Don't be scared. Put it at the foot of the cross and let's go. That's boucherfortexas.com, and also check out a Bouché Realty Group. And I'm going to flash this across the screen just to make sure people can see this here. Again, that's Bouché Realty Group. You can reach out at 281-907-3989. Again, that's 281-907-3989. And again, I highly encourage people go to boucherfortexas.com. Hit that donate link. Let's get some funds. Let's get some weapons in his armament so he can go to battle for us. That's
And I hope to see you on the
boucherfortexas.com.
28th.
And yes, the next event is on the 28th. Again, if you go to boucherfortexas.com, hit the events link there, you can see the latest events that's happening as well as past events. And pray for Jon, pray for his family. We wish you all the best success. And let's see you get elected in that office so you can really start having some fun. What do you think?
Man, I'm ready.
I'm ready for Defiance Press in the Capitol. Let's go.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be
That
great.
would be awesome.
Love it.
That would be awesome. Folks, this is another episode of the Defiance Daily Show with Jon Bouché, Texas House District 16. Let's get Metcalf out of there and let's see what happens. Join us for our next guest. We'll be making some announcements as we set up these interviews, but really appreciate everybody joining us. Stay tuned. God bless.
God bless.
Stay reliable out there.
God
Thank you.
Y'all.